let's have a look what happens when we've got sort of multiple edges like this. I'll just delete this object. And I'll pop the tool settings open so I can get a bit of a centered view here. Okay. So as I was talking about before, if I select edge mode and I double click an edge, you can see that it selects. So because this is sort of a primitive object and the edges are more or less sort of evenly constructed, I can quickly select edges by double clicking them. Like this. So I'm just selecting all the outside edges basically, around the outside edge of this cube. So I've got all the top ones, I've got all the side ones, I've got all the bottom ones. I'll turn the grid off as well, just so we can see the bottom more clearly. Okay, so if I play the same settings as I did before, actually what I'll do is I'll drop the segments back down to 1, and I might pop those up to 0.25, just to make it a little easier to see, and I apply it. So once again, it's kind of adding this 45-degree angle because we've only got one segment. And you'll notice at the corners, what happens is it creates a triangle. Now, if I undo that, so I just middle mouse click in the viewport and press Z to undo, if I change the segment number to 2 and apply that, instead of a triangle, what we're getting is 3 four-sided polygons, 3 quads in the corner. And that's because there's 2 polygon, basically 2 lots of polygons running along each of those edges. So there's still basically an edge running down the middle where the original edge was. Okay, but notice how it tries to round those out. Now, sometimes what you'll get in the corner of a beveled edge like this, where you've got sort of 3 edges meeting and it's kind of going around a corner like this, sometimes what you'll actually get is a large polygon that gets added in over the top of these 3. Now it happens sometimes, and it's usually on more random objects than this. So if you've got a more random shape than this, you'll usually end up with these weird additional polygons. So I'm going to try and simulate that to show you what happens, because it can cause you kind of problems later on down the track. So if I just take this and extrude it out, I might actually be able to get one of these polygons forming. So I'll just reselect all those edges again. I'll just do around the top this time, so we're not worrying too much about the bottom. But I will need to select some of these as well. I might as well just grab all of these. You can see that this one here is actually selected. There we go. So let's say I've got those selected like that. I'll just grab that one as well. And that one, might as well just grab a lot. There we go. So if these are the edges I want beveled, and I bevel them like this, where we've got this more complex edge where it's kind of beveling around this kind of this corner where it kind of turns back on itself, and obviously it's beveling down around the underside here as well. Basically in this corner and over here in this corner, what we're getting is sort of an error. What happens is the tool basically tries to add a polygon over the entire corner junction like this. So you can see it's highlighting, but here you can see in here we've got this little triangle. That's also a polygon. So what we've got is this big polygon covering another polygon, and that will cause problems with a lot of our tools, like our split tools and so on, and even extrude. If we tried to extrude this, it would probably not work properly, especially if we accidentally select both of those polygons for the extrusion. So what you need to do in this situation is go right through any of the edges that you've done with the bevel tool, find these big kind of overlapping polygons and delete them. Now you'll notice when you delete it, it ends up with a hole in the object. So you can see this hole here. So what we then need to do is fill the holes in. So keep an eye out for the bevel tool, because it will add these big kind of wonky polygons into your model. like this. And it usually happens at any of these kind of weird kind of junctions where you've got maybe 3 edges all being beveled into the one where the one vertex used to be. Okay, so anywhere where you're kind of getting these sort of twisted edge shapes like this. Also keep an eye out for these corners, these corner sections, because what happens due to the fact that it's trying to round this corner off, it's basically turned this polygon into a 5-sided polygon. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this small edge here, 5. So oftentimes what you'll need to do is actually use the interactive split tool, and you'll need to split this polygon down the middle. So for example, what I would normally do here is if I start in this corner and work across to the middle of this corner, basically I end up with 2 4-sided polygons. Now that still leaves me with a hole in the middle here. And in this situation, what I could do is use the Append to Polygon tool or the Fill Hole tool. So usually I'll use Append to Polygon. So go Edit Mesh, Append to Polygon, and I just click on one edge and then click on the opposite edge, and it'll fill that in with a polygon like that. Now another thing that we could do here is delete this edge. We've got a couple of things here. We can either delete this edge and cut a new edge with the interactive split tool through the middle like this, or the other option with this would be to go to Edit Mesh and use the spin edge forward or spin edge backwards. So if I hit spin edge forwards, you can see that the edge actually flips around to the next pair of vertices, and if I apply that again, spin edge forwards, you can see it then lines up there, and we end up with a much neater junction like that. If I press 3, you can see that we get a nice smooth clean finish through there. But if I leave it as it is, I get these weird little holes in the geometry or the model like this. So you do need to kind of do a bit of cleanup with the bevel tool. So that's basically it. That's how the bevel tool works. Basically, it's used for creating smoother, rounded off edges on your object. So it's great for doing mechanical modeling, where you might be modeling, say, engine parts or pistons and things like that. Anything that you need a slightly rounded edge on, it's absolutely fantastic for.